Hey my lovelies! If you've got a sweet tooth that needs to be satisfied, you have come to the right place today because I am sharing 5 incredible dessert recipes. They're all made with 4 ingredients or less. How amazing is that? The best part about these amazing desserts is that while they taste really decadent, they actually are all on the healthier side, so I like to think of them as desserts you can feel good about. First up today, I've got an incredibly rich brownie. This is actually a no-bake brownie, and it all starts in your food processor. I'm getting started with a whole lot of walnuts in my food processor. The walnuts in this case are gonna act a little bit like our flour, so they're gonna be the bulk of our brownies. So you wanna give them a head start, a couple good pulses. You don't wanna lose all their texture, but you wanna make sure that they're not big chunks anymore. Next, we are going to add our glue, and by glue, I mean dates, which have such a gluey texture. These are pitted dates, of course. You don't wanna leave those pits in. You will ruin your food processor real quick. I'm also going to add a good helping of cocoa powder here, because of course, these are brownies after all. I'm just gonna blend all of this awesomeness together until it creates a nice sticky dough. Then I'm just going to press this mixture into a well-greased baking dish and set it aside while I get to melting some chocolate. I'm starting with a small saucepan on my stove. It's got about 1 inch of water simmering on the bottom, and I'm just going to top that with a glass bowl that is full of chopped dark chocolate. I'm going to keep stirring my chocolate until it's completely melted, and then I am going to pour it over my brownies. Oh yeah, people. Once that chocolate has been spread evenly over the top of my brownies, I'm going to get this entire dish into the refrigerator for between 30 minutes and an hour. Once they're set, you can cut them into pieces as small or as large as you like, and then they are ready to be enjoyed. I think that they are best consumed with a nice tall glass of milk. Next up, guys, I've got some really incredible peanut butter cookies, also made with just 4 amazing ingredients. Of course, any peanut butter cookie has to start with the peanut butter, so into the bowl it goes. To add a little fiber to these cookies, I'm going to be dumping in some old-fashioned oats, and then I'm going to add my coconut sugar. You definitely have the option to either use brown sugar or traditional granulated sugar in this recipe. Both will work just as well. And then I'm also going to add 1 egg. I'm going to mix that all together until it's well combined, and then simply spoon these onto a parchment-lined baking sheet. Now you may remember this technique from your grandma's baking. I definitely do. When you're making peanut butter cookies, you've got to use your fork, and you basically put a little grid pattern in the top of them. I don't know why we do this with peanut butter cookies, but I know that my grandmother would not approve any other way. And then I'm just going to get them into the oven at 350 degrees for between 8 and 10 minutes. When they come out, they are nice and soft and chewy. If you prefer a crispy cookie, not to worry, you can leave them in the oven a little longer and they will crisp up. It's so great to make a big batch of these on Sunday during your meal prep, and then you have a sweet treat to enjoy all week long. Our next amazing dessert actually only involves 3 delicious ingredients and could honestly not be simpler to make. We are baking up some apples in this case, but you could also do this with some peaches if you wanted to, or some pears. In the fall, baked pears are my favorite. I'm gonna cut my apples in half, but I'm also just gonna cut a little slice off the side of each of my apples. This is gonna help them sit flat in my baking dish. These you can just enjoy yourself. We're just gonna remove the seeds and the core from our apples like so. I'm using an ice cream scoop, but if you have an apple core, that works just as well. And then I'm just going to arrange these in a well-greased baking dish, top them with some maple syrup and some cinnamon, and get them into the oven at 350 degrees Fahrenheit for between 25 and 30 minutes. You'll know they're done because the apple will be super soft and falling apart. I think that these are mind-blowing when served with some vanilla-flavored yogurt and some granola for crunch. Perfect for breakfast, actually. Dessert for breakfast. I like the spirit of that. Next, for another slightly more decadent offering, I've got some homemade peanut butter cups, people. Oh yeah, you're gonna wanna stay tuned for these. Now you guys are probably already well aware that peanut butter and chocolate are 2 of my very favorite flavors. My favorites, in fact. I had a hard time keeping a straight face for that one, but I managed, we got through it. To make these yummy peanut butter cups, we're actually going to get started by preparing the centers first. So I've got some natural peanut butter hanging out in a bowl, and to that I'm going to add a couple tablespoons of agave syrup. Now you actually do have the option to skip this step. If you want to leave your peanut butter unsweetened, you can totally go ahead and do that. Next, we are going to stir this all together and then just spoon it into little discs onto a parchment-lined baking sheet. We're going to pop our peanut butter discs into the freezer and let them set for between 30 minutes and an hour. Because of the fat in that peanut butter, they do take a while to set, but honestly, the best things in life come to those who wait. Once your peanut butter is set, you can get to work on preparing your chocolate. Once again, I'm using a double boiler on the stove to melt my chocolate. Once my chocolate's melted, I'm just gonna stir in a few tablespoons of coconut oil, and then it is time to get our peanut butter cups happening. The idea here is to place about a tablespoon of chocolate into the bottom of each cupcake liner. Now, I prefer using the liners that are actually made with parchment paper because I find they are the most non-stick option, but of course, any cupcake liners will do. Then I'm gonna pop these into the freezer for between 5 and 10 minutes. Once our first layer of chocolate is set, we can add our peanut butter to the center of each and then top each with the rest of our delicious melted chocolate. Now I know this is technically adding a 5th ingredient, but I really think they are most delicious when you add a little sprinkling of sea salt on top. You can pop these in the freezer for another 30 minutes or so until they're completely set, and then they are ready to be enjoyed. Salty, sweet, chocolate peanut buttery goodness that is worth each and every delicious calorie. For my final dessert today, I'm making a recipe that starts simply enough, but by the end will get you really fired up. They're my flambéed bananas, and they are super good served with ice cream. For this recipe, I'm getting started with some slightly underripe bananas because I want them to hold their shape during cooking. I'm just going to slice them up and then get them into my skillet over medium-high heat with some melted coconut oil. Once your bananas start to soften up, it's time to add your sugar. This is gonna help them get nice and crispy and caramelized. So it does not take long for your bananas to get real happy, and that means it is time for our flambe. It's really important to turn your hood vent and your stove off before you flambe. So we've got a barbecue lighter. This is gonna allow us to have a little bit of distance from this pan, and we've got our coconut rum. Success! Now, obviously, guys, it is really, really important that you use caution if you're using an open flame in the kitchen. Be sure that there is nothing around your skillet that could accidentally get caught on fire. And of course, keep a fire extinguisher handy just in case of an accident. What you're gonna end up with are these beautiful caramelized bananas that are syrupy sweet and perfect served with some vanilla ice cream. I hope you guys love these recipes as much as I do and that you'll give them a try in your very own kitchen. If you do, of course, tweet me, Instagram me, or Snapchat me a photo because I love seeing your kitchen creations. Keep in mind the full recipes are in the description box below. And of course, if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe because there is lots more deliciousness where this came from.